Hi guys, welcome back to another video and to the next lesson in this sort of riff series. And the song, of course, is the Green Manalishi, and it's actually the second Peter Green song we've looked at, with at least one more to go as well. So this song then, the Green Manalishi, released in 1970 as a single only, actually marks the end of the Peter Green Fleetwood Mac era, which is crazy to think, you know, like the Green Manalishi, and after that the Peter Green Mac era was over, and the song peaked at number 10. I think it held number 10 for quite a while in the UK charts, and it would be their last sort of mainstream success, you could say, for quite a while. Nothing compared to the success that Fleetwood Mac would go on to have, and what most people know Fleetwood Mac as. But for me, it's all about the Peter Green era, and like I said, this song marks the end of the Peter Green era. And this track, obviously Peter Green's sort of infamously known for his dealings with drugs at the time, and he wasn't in a good place kind of mentally as a result of that. And the Green Manalishi is supposed to represent like money being the devil, and Peter Green just didn't like, he was quite anti-money and all that sort of stuff. But it's just mad, like even as this song going on the albums, it didn't appear on an album for quite some time. And then of course the Green Manalishi as well was famously covered by Judas Priest in 79, I think it was, or 80, about 10 years after the song came out. And the reason why I love this song so much, again, we're looking at things in this list from like a guitar player, a learner guitar player's point of view. And this track is very, very different to a lot of the more bluesy, delicate Peter Green stuff from earlier Fleetwood Mac, which, you know, again, we're looking at in this list as well. But from the rhythmic down picks to the power chords to the intricate kind of fast pick single note stuff, there's a lot of mini lessons within this track that you can kind of take away and apply to other songs, other styles, and that is why it makes this list kind of thing. And if you're playing along with this track, it's so fun to play along with. So you're learning, you're having a lot of fun, and that qualifies it to make this list pretty much. So with all of that being said, I'll take you through, I'll sort of break the song down into a few small sections, and we'll look at that in the lesson now. Alright then, let's get into the lesson for the way I play the Green Manalishi. So two things really to note with this track just to have in your mind is that one, you're trying to get one guitar to sound like two distinct guitars. So always kind of bear that in mind, that you'll be making a compromise here and there. And when you're playing along to the track, it's got that typical like old school tuning thing where a modern day, you know, in tune wouldn't sound quite right. So if you play along with I'm fairly sure it's the 2013 remaster, that is more in modern tune and it therefore easier to play along with. So just bear those two things in mind, and what we'll do, we'll break it down kind of bit by bit, starting with the intro, which sounds something like this. So that's kind of the intro there. You might have noticed straight away, one of the key things to this song is just down pick, very steady, on the beat down picks. And they're kind of palm muted, but it's sort of like a loose palm muting, because it doesn't really matter if you catch the odd string here and there. It's kind of all part of the song. So the first kind of opening stab chord, if we like, we've got open E string, we've got our third finger on the 7th fret of the A, first finger 5th fret of the D, and the rest all open, and then we kind of go. So we kind of strum all the strings, keep that chord shape, and then we're going into our down picking palm mute groove, should we say. But we're keeping this chord going because that's kind of the chord that's going to shape part of that groove as well. So starting off, like I said, with that one, and once we've done that, slide. I'm using kind of two fingers at all times. This one is first and third finger, and then I slide down so that I'm using my first and middle fingers, middle finger 5th fret of the A string, first finger 4th fret of the D. So we got. And we kind of do that all strings again, and then keep that chord shape when we do the downstroke palm mute. Same again when we go back, so first and middle fingers, but this time middle finger 3rd fret A string, first finger 2nd fret D string. So we kind of just move in that shape back 2 full frets. Once we've got that, we'll keep that first shape going. And in your mind, if you're familiar with the song, and as always, I suggest playing along with the song to get the groove and the time in. You'll hear those vocals coming in if you're familiar with it in your head. And when those come in, we got this part of the songs now. So again, this is where we get to our first bit that's got 2 very distinct guitar parts on it. And when I play it on my own, that's kind of how I play it, but there's a second guitar that's doing something like. So I'll show you kind of both of them. So we start off on that first chord we looked at with the hammer-ons, with their palm mutes. And then what we want to do is sort of ease off the palm muting and then bring it down before we go to the. So we got. And it's kind of all about being sort of fast and loose, but keeping that stab groove going kind of thing. And the chords I'm doing for that one, it's basically a normal bar chord shape. So first finger barring all the strings on the 3rd fret, third finger 5th fret of the A, little finger 5th fret on the D, middle finger 4th fret on the G, and that's our normal bar chord shape. And then I'm strumming all the strings and sliding it up. So imagine my third's keeping this shape going at the 3rd fret. I slide that shape up to the 5th fret, back down to the 3rd, back to the 5th, 3rd, and then just an open E minor chord. So all strings, nothing on the low E, 2nd fret A, 2nd fret D, and then nothing on the G, B, and E. So just to recap. And then the guitar that's kind of over the top of that, or in the background of that, it's sort of. So what that is, we're kind of barring the 5th fret, using the front of our finger to mute the low E, and it's 5th on the D, the A, D, G, and B, with our 3rd finger 7th fret on the G, and little finger 8th fret on the B. And then we slide that up 2 frets. So it's the same shape for all 3. And then end it barring over the 2nd fret. And that kind of, you can choose whichever one you do, but I always just stick to the. And I'm sort of emphasising the higher strings a bit. And then we go back to that. So looking at another section then, where we've got the. So for that section, so once we've done the stabs riff, as I call it, come back to that E shape bar in the 3rd fret. And then I kind of keep my hand going in time with the drums, if you like. So you got the... And then we got the... And there's two ways you can play this. I'll play you them both first. So we got this way. Or... And that's the way I kind of try and play it. So we got the... And then it's A string. I'll use my little finger on the 7th for the first bit. And then 5th E to 7 E. So A on the 7th, 5th on the E, 7th on the E. And then we kind of slide down to the 3rd on the E. Back to 5th on the E. 3rd, 2nd on the E. Sorry, 2nd, 1st on the E. Finishing with a 3rd on the A. So, slowly. One more time. Or the second way we can do it is D string starting on the 2nd fret. Open A. To 2nd fret A. To 3rd fret low E. So we got open A, and then 2nd, 1st on the E, 3rd A. So it's kind of up to you whichever way you prefer. You got or, and that's kind of how I always play it. And then we've got kind of, before we get onto the main, you know, all the main kind of crazy bit, we got this. So what we're doing there is that, remember that first shape we did on the A and D strings, the 7th on the A, 5th on the D. We keep that shape, slide it back 1 fret, so we end up with 6th on the A and 4th on the D. So what we're doing there is, like I said, that first shape, slide back 1 fret, and then the other chord we looked at on the intro as well, so 5th A, 4th D. So we've covered all of that bit, and now we get into the sort of main crazy bit of riffs. So I'll put on a little bit more drive, and that goes something like this. So for that, it's a lot of the same chords we've already looked at with just a couple of extras. And like on that first little bit where we slid this shape back 1, this time we're starting again with the original, you know, the first chord we looked at. But then we go down to E, still on the A and D, but the 5th fret on the A and 4th on the D. And it's quite aggressive, as you'll know from the song. So, and then for this bit, we've got kind of a new chord. I'll use my middle 2 fingers for this. So A string, 10th fret, D string, 9th. So it is quite easy to kind of find these shapes, but so coming up to the 10th and the 9th, like I said, then we go, and it's all on the A and D by the way, and then we go ninth on the A, 7th on the D. Back to our first shape, the 5th and 7th. So 7th A, 5th D. And then 5th to 4th in the A and D. So slide that then to the 3rd and 2nd. And then that slides back 1 fret. Same shape, but just going back 1 fret. And then back up to the 5th and 4th. So real slow on that one. And it's just such a wicked riff to play, especially when you're playing along with it to the track. It just feels awesome. And once you've got used to going between those shapes, like I said, I'm always kind of swapping between either my 1st and 2nd or 2nd and 3rd sort of thing. And just get used to messing around in between those shapes. So the only other sort of section then that's probably the most tricky is this bit where it goes like. So it sounds something like that, and you can make this a little bit easier by utilising sort of hammer-ons and pull-offs, but I'm fairly sure in the song he is picking every single note. But it's kind of starting off on the D string, 2nd fret, and I'm kind of doing like an alternate pick, like a. So 2nd fret, down, up, down, down, up, and then open on the G. Same riff again, but instead of open on the G, it's 2nd fret on the G. And just kind of practice that pattern if you like. And there's like a very subtle, tiny bit of vibrato when he comes back. So just practice that, and then we got that kind of run there, which is B string, hammer on pull off on the 1st fret, 2nd fret pull off to 0 on the G. And it's quite fast. So just practice to go. And then D string, 4th, 2nd, 0. So. And then 3rd fret A. And then just get used to running that pattern, I suppose. And again, you can kind of be fast and loose with it as long as you're kind of catching it in time, if you know what I mean. So. And just kind of get that under your fingers, and then we kind of repeat the first part of that again. And we got my favourite part of it, which is this. And we can go back to that opening chord to end. So we got 3rd fret D string, open D, 3rd fret A string, open D, 2nd, 4th, open G, 2nd G, open B, 1st B, and then we can end back on that first opening chord we did. So one more time to cover that. And I think that sounds absolutely awesome. And once you've got all of those sections kind of under your hands, you're pretty much at the end, apart from the weird improvised solo bit that goes on for a while right at the end of the song. The only other sort of bit to get under your fingers is after all that's over and we get the... and we pause on that E minor and then we got this. And then we go back to the... and that kind of repeats for a while. So for that little walk down bit, we got D string, 5th, 4th, A string now, 2nd fret to 5th, and then 3rd fret D. So you can think of that as like the first part there, and then we've got, so first part, back to the 2nd A, then 5th A, 3rd A, so we've got open E, 2nd, 3rd, open A, 2nd A, back to the 5th, 4th on the D. So slowly, something like this. So that's pretty much all of the main sort of sections of the song covered. So hopefully you kind of got some out of that and you enjoy playing along to the track because it is a lot of fun. And I will see you again on the next one.